Thank you, Presiding Officer. I think my key skill is an ability to conceal gaps in my personal knowledge and skills. For example, I play no musical instrument. I would judge it a great success if I drove a golf ball more than 100 metres, and my swimming abilities are close to nil. Now, the reason I raise those shortcomings that I have is to illustrate that there will be many disabled people who can exceed me on any one of these shortcomings. And that will be repeated for all of us here. In other words, being disabled in one part of your life does not mean that you do not have abilities in another part of your life. And I think that's a key thing that we should all remember. But also, I think it's surprising that we haven't talked much about how we need to get inside the mind of many disabled people who are talked down, perhaps quite early in their lives, and made to think less of themselves than they should do. We need to look for some role models that illustrate that having a disability is not an impediment to a successful life. It's only 2 months since Stephen Hawking died at the age of 76. His intellect far surpasses, and I think I won't be challenged if I put it this way, the collective intellect of us all here. I can read his book, A Brief History of Time. I seem to understand each sentence as I meet it, but when I get to the end of the book, I find very little that has penetrated the cerebral cavity on a permanent basis. Now, Alec Rowley talked about people who are disabled and unable to work. And I think that is certainly true. But I'd like to put a different gloss on it, if I may. And that is, people who can't work are nonetheless able to contribute to society, to give us something that is of value, simply by existing. Even if that's to a small circle of family and friends, but very often to a much wider circle, and we should not forget that. Now, some further models of achievement in disabled people. Dennis Robertson, a late member here, of course, as we know, was blind. I had a work colleague when I went to join the Bank of Scotland in computers in 1969. I was stuck in a room to read some manuals to learn about what computers were and what you did with them. And there was this person who used to come into this room, walk across the room, get some blank punch cards, put them in the punch machine, punch things out, take them away and wait, and off he went about his way. And it was in the second week when I'd moved the heater in the room, because it was very cold, it was approaching winter, and he walked straight into it, that I got a full mouthful of abuse from Brian. Brian was blind. And I had not known he was blind for the first 10 days I'd known him. And Brian, because he was blind, he had learned more or less off by heart all the technical manuals related to the IBM computers we used. We used to go to Brian with all our really difficult questions, and he always had the answer. Another example of someone turning a disability into an advantage, into a success. But the other thing that there is, and we've had reference to it, is invisible disability, particularly mental ill health, mental incapacity, and indeed deafness. It's not obvious that somebody is deaf. And I think we've got to think very hard about how we help people with invisible disabilities to see a way forward in their lives and to help employers understand that they are of value in their company. We've talked a bit about the economic contribution that can come from increasing the number of people we employ. I've no time for that argument for a single second. We are all not here to serve an abstract idea that is called the economy. The economy is here to serve us, not to enslave us. And I think we should remember that whenever we consider this subject and a whole wider range of other subjects. It's interesting, there's some wonderful models of disability people. There are now quite a lot of disabled comedians. And ain't that great? It engages you and draws you in. I think I'll just simply close, Presiding Officer, by reminding us what it actually says in the title of this debate: a fairer Scotland for disabled people. Disabled people. Forget disabled, we're all people.